Hello, this is a review of Lesson 5 on the Basic Practice Chanter class that we're doing here in early 2022. This is the review of the lesson from March 24th, 2022. And we warmed up with a scale, and I want to make sure that it's very clear what we're looking to do when we transition from D to E or from E down to D. Just remembering that we're on D. When we go to E, we need to very, very carefully and just a little bit early lift the E finger before bringing the D fingers down. So we avoid a crossing sound. We don't want a crossing sound, which is an unintended sound between two notes, transitioning between two notes. So that would look like this in slow motion. And then going down. You can see I'm lifting the E finger a little bit early before I bring these down from D to E. Similarly, when I go back down, here I am on E. Before I go down to D, I'm going to lift these up a little bit and then bring that down. And we can make a speed exercise of this. We can start slowly and gradually speed up like this. You want to just keep going until you fail. That you do on your own. Okay, so I think that's a good warm-up. So pause the video, practice the D to E, E to D transitions. Okay, now we're ready for the G grace note scale. I'd like to do it to 55 beats per minute. And on 3. Ready? 1, 2. Now, if that was too fast for any of the transitions, it's a good time to pause the video and work on that transition. Usually the one that gets us is the D to E or E to D. So another alternative is to slow down the playback speed of that scale. Let's do it one more time. G grace note scale. This is a good warm-up. On 3. Ready? 1, 2. All right, the next topic we covered was the entire G grace note scale. So that is shown either on exercise sheet 1, line 2 here, or you can find it in the green book. But we'll stick with the exercise sheet since it's easy to follow. With the G grace note, same situation. You want to be extra careful with your transitions from D to E, but let's make sure that we review the whole idea of a G grace note. The idea of a G grace note is it's a little chip sound on a note. And when we transition from one note to the other, we want to make sure that it's very clear. So if I'm playing low G, which is the first note of the scale, right, I'm going to go up to low A, right? I'm going to lift the high G grace note finger and the destination notes finger, which is in this case low A, together, right? I'm going to go like this. And then I'm going to drop the G grace note finger. So the way that sounds is that's the sound we want to hear when we're playing G grace notes. We don't want to accidentally play the destination note before we lift our G finger. That would sound like this. We don't want this. We don't want See there, we played a low G, I played a low G, a low A, and then I did the grace note. That's not what we want. Because when you look at the music, you want to read it literally, and you want to see, oh, the first sound I should make is a high G grace note to a melody note. High G grace note, melody note. High G grace note, melody note. So keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and try the G grace note scale together, and we're going to do it a little slower. We're going to do it at 50 beats per minute. And you'll notice that the very first note that we play, if we read this one, the melody note is, or destination note is a low G. We're doing a high G grace note. That means when we start, we have our fingers in the G position, and the high G grace note finger is lifted. So the first sound we hear will be the of the high G. Okay, so get your fingers in that position. Ready? 1, 2. Now, if the transitions, any of those transitions gave you trouble, this is a good time to pause the video and try it on your own or play back the recording at a slower speed. One of the things to look out for is, just like with the scale, the transition from D to E, right? When we're on D, we're going to E. We need to play a G grace note in between. The first thing we do is we're on D, we lift the G grace note finger and the E finger together. So that right there is something to practice. Right? Then these come down and the grace note finger comes down. So it's... Now this was covered in the previous lesson, so I'm not going to go into it too much. Just remember that. Similarly, coming down from E to D, you're on E, you're going to go to D, but you need to lift the G grace note finger first. So you go... And this whole idea of leading with the G grace note finger is a concept we talked about. The idea is that the highest finger on the chanter, that is, or hole on the chanter that's exposed, is the sound that the listener will hear. So if I have all the holes closed, that's low G. But if I lift this finger, what sound am I hearing? High G, right? What if I do the thumb? The listener's hearing high A. So these are the grace notes, basically, that we're talking about most of the time. Generally high G, but some high A's on the back, the higher notes on that scale. And so if you're worried about getting a crossing sound or not making the transition correctly, lead with the highest finger, right? So that would apply to when we're going from F to high G, because that's a thumb grace note, right? The first finger that comes off in slow motion here from F to high G with a grace note is, right? In real life, real time, you're going to lift them both at the same time. But while you're thinking about it slowly, right? That's that one. So let's do that scale again. And we're going to do it a little faster, 53 beats per minute. On 3. Ready? 1, 2. If that's confusing, either review this lesson or the previous. Very good. The next topic we covered was line 3 of the exercise sheet. And this is a great way to practice your G grace notes. And it's just a sort of ascending pattern going up through the entire scale. And it goes for 2 lines. It actually starts on line 3 and ends on line 4. And for us, what I wanted to do was just the first 2 bars to get you used to it, right? And a lot of this is the pattern is simple, but I want to make sure that you're playing carefully and evenly. So let's go ahead and play this with the metronome in the background. The first 2 bars, okay? Ready? 1, 2. So if you found yourself in there struggling with any transitions, you're going to go ahead, pause the video, work on those on your own. One of the things that's tempting as a beginner is if there's a transition that's tricky, like maybe you're at the end of bar 1 and you're on the low A and you've got to go to B and you're just not so sure about it. Sometimes we take a breath accidentally on purpose so that we don't have to deal with the transition. So avoid that, right? And just push through, right? Let's go ahead and do the entire first line, all right, of exercise 3 on 3. Ready? 1, 2. Okay, we're going to leave that there. Work on that. If that's too fast, slow down the playback speed. If it's too slow, you can speed up the playback speed. The last topic we covered was the double high A. And this is on page 76 of the Green Tutor book, double high A. And it's a scale going to a high A doubling, or double high A as it sounds. The very first note is a scale note, right? Here it starts on low A. We could start on low G, but we'll follow this. Low A, and then the very first sound you make is a little high A. There it is, right there. Then a little high G, and then your destination note is the high A, shown as a quarter note here. So this doubling is simply going to high A and sliding the thumb across the back hole, right? When you slide it across, it makes a very short but clear high G, and that's the second grace note in the doubling. So when we practice this one, it's going to look like this. Side view is like that. Make sure you're getting the slide, and make sure you're getting a clean transition from low A to high A, keeping this ring finger on. Like that. So let's try the entire scale coming from every note on 3. Ready? 1, 2. Now you can't play it from high A because you can't play a grace note on itself, so it stops at high G. If that was too fast, slow down the video, or let's try it again together here at a slower speed. Let's try at 45 beats per minute. Same thing, get your fingers ready in the low A position, and we'll start. Ready? 1, 2. All right, and if any of that is too fast, feel free to do it on your own. Not a problem at all. And the last thing I wanted to just remind you of is we're still working on the G, D, E lines. Make sure that starts down here at line 5, and there's 3 of them. Make sure you're doing those every day so that you can keep your dexterity going with the G, D, E triplets. Let's go ahead and have some fun with some G, D, E's right now. And we will go ahead and try these with the triplets in the rhythm, just to make it fun. This is 52 beats per minute. Let's go to 55. What we're going to do is the first line, and we're going to take away the accents. Ready? And 1, 2. I threw a curveball there and I actually played all 3 lines. Have fun, happy chantering.